Well, no wonder it's scratched. They're scratched. No wonder I can't see. Okay, we're going live. Let me see how it's looking. Looks pretty good. We can sit here in silence. We can Hariosgamos while we're waiting. Ah, okay. All right. Alice in New York is here. Got 13 people in the house. I'll have to wait another 45 seconds. Yvette Joulet, Soulogy Hoochie Mama. She's in the house. Judy Baker. Yes, Delia. Okay, we're going to give another 20 seconds. God, I got hit with a major something. Oh. Okay. All right. Okay. So do you want to somebody say
I don't.
Everybody keeps putting up these comments, beautiful and sexy. I know they're not talking about me. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I'm ready to start. You got 60 people here. That's enough. Yeah. Okay. So, this is been a while since we've done this. Isn't it? When's the last time we did this? 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Last time we did this. Is it the last time we did this? Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's the last time we did this. Last time Morgan Lee and I were in different locations broadcasting. It was 2 years ago. So we were together for 103 weeks with 57-day interruption and a 9-day interruption and a 2 or 3 day interruption. So that's not bad. 70 days out of 2 years, we weren't sleeping under the same roof. What's so funny?
Well, you're doing again what you did on the way to the airport. You know, you talk about all the details and all the statistics and everything. Like when things get too hard for you, you go straight over into pure masculine mode and you start talking details.
Where do you want to start? You're in lockdown. You're what? Barely 24 hours in lockdown?
Just probably about 26, 27, maybe 28 hours. I think I arrived here at 10:30 yesterday morning and it's 12:30, so 26 hours.
Yeah. How's that been? Well, I know how to because I talked to you. But
yeah. Well, it has been shocking. It's been eye-opening. It's been triggering. It's been shocking. You know, I think I arrived in Sydney at 5:30 yesterday morning, really excited because it was, you know, like 25 minutes early. And the first thing that happened is we got stuck on the plane. There was only 22 people on the biggest plane. There were only 22 people on there. And then when we arrived, we weren't allowed to actually leave the aeroplane for half an hour. I didn't understand till 5 hours later why, but yeah, we were stuck on the plane for the first half an hour. Then we were allowed off, and then it was, you know, we were treated like cattle. And I get it. I'm not saying anything bad because, you know, every state, every city, every country does their own COVID thing. But so the first line that I was moved into by airport staff was, you know, for all the medical stuff to be, you know, my temperature tested and all these questions asked and everything. Then the next line I went to was where you just present your passport. That was another hour or so, just lining up these 22 people. And then the next one was, oh God, there were so many of them.
The 22 people, wasn't that 3.5 hours, wasn't it?
4.5 hours till I left the airport. So the first 30 minutes was on the plane. There was an hour. We had to line up for an hour to be tested by medical staff, doctors and nurses. Then we had to line up. When you first arrive, you have to show your passport. And then the next hour was waiting just for other travellers to get through. And this actually makes sense to me. I didn't realise at the time because no one told us what was going on. We were just lining up. But right towards the end, I found out for every plane that arrives, they let everyone go through first, and no one's allowed into a new section. So the plane before us was from India. So they were keeping all the Indian travellers separate. And then once everything, I had to line up for an hour to get my suitcase because all the Indian travellers had to, get all their cases off. And then once they were all moved through to the next section, which was what? Customs. Then we were allowed to move in and collect our baggage. And then we had to wait for all that previous plane to move through customs. And then we were allowed to enter that. But each time, they'd let there were 22 people on our plane and there were 18 staff, 18 air hostesses and pilots. So they went through first, and then there was a small dance group on some special gigs, so they let them through. So, yeah, by the time I got out of the airport, it was 4.5 hours. And I was absolutely beside myself by then. I think that I'm fairly calm, fairly peaceful. I don't get triggered often, but when I get triggered, I get triggered. So I got out of the airport and thinking, oh, my God, I'm going to be able to stand out in the air and just, enjoy myself for 15, because I was first out, 15 or 20 minutes waiting for everyone else. But no, I was immediately accosted by police, numerous police and army. They just came and took everything off me except my handbag and said, get on the bus. So, I sat on the bus for 15 or 20 minutes waiting for everyone as well. We came to our quarantine hotel. And by this stage, it's almost 5 hours. And we got there and we were told, you're not allowed to get off the bus. We'll call your name when you're allowed to get off. And I think that was my tipping point. I just started crying. I had a great big thick mask on, which I very rarely had masks on. And I just started crying. And I think the policeman that was, telling us everything that was going to happen saw me crying. So he called me. Of the first 3, they were bringing 3 off at a time. And I walked into the hotel, walked into the foyer, which has now been set up like a police office. I had 3 or 4 police officers in front of me. Numerous army people asked me all these personal questions. And I was told that I was going to get a key to the room. I wasn't going to get a key to the room, that I would be escorted up to the room. I wasn't allowed to open the door. Like if food arrived, there'd be a knock and I had to wait 3 minutes, put a mask on and then go to the door and collect it. And that on the 2nd of May, somebody would come and let me out, provided I passed my PCR tests, that I would be allowed to book a flight and fly, my last 2.5 hours to Adelaide. But, yeah, it's been really confronting. I think that I'm usually pretty calm. I think you can attest to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about when you were going to get on the plane in LA to go to Sydney?
Oh my goodness. So you gave me some money and I had a little bit of my own, all American dollars, and my cards ran out, in my 2-year stint in America. My plan always was that I was going to fly 3 months with you, 3 months home, 3 months with you, 3 months at home. Certain things happened in the first 12 months that prevented it, and then the last 12 months have been COVID. But, yeah, I went and had a PCR test, a COVID test on Wednesday, which you have to do. I wanted to go to duty-free. I wanted to be able to bring a couple of things home. I wanted to eat. I hadn't eaten all day, and I wanted to go to currency exchange to make sure I had some money when I arrived in Australia, and everything was shut except for one shop, which was Hudson's, and I didn't need a magazine or a drink. So I was basically running all over LA airport, and I had walked for 35 minutes on instruction. There was one place in section B that had currency exchange. I walked for 30 minutes and I found a staff member and I said, how far is it? And they said, oh, you've just hit halfway. And I thought to myself, I've got an hour to the plane leaves. I better not do this. So I almost ran back to my section. And I got up to the lady and, handed my tickets over and my tests and my
You were the last one.
I was the very last one. Everyone was already on there. And I handed my PCR test to her and she looked at it and she said, no, I'm sorry, we can't let you on. I was like, what? And at this point, I was so exhausted. I bent over and I was just like, oh, God, what am I going to do? And I said to her, it's a PCR test. And she said, well, they haven't labelled it PCR. It's not, we're not allowed to let you on. And I'm like, please, I haven't seen my kids for 2 years. You don't know what I've been through in the last 36 hours, please. So she rang Australia.
But you said something before she did that, right?
No, after.
Oh.
No. There were 2 phone calls. So she rang Australia. She read out everything because it said COVID-19 test instead of PCR test. So Australia was saying, no, you can't get on a plane. And so she hung up and said, I'm really sorry. You can't get on. Now, I've flown all day to get from Arkansas to LA. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And I said out loud, Mother Goddess, I really need your help right now. Team, whoever's there, I need help. And then the air hostess said, hang on, let me ring someone else. So she made another call to Australia. And next thing they're asking for my passport number. She read out my passport number. Because unlike you, I've never done anything wrong. I've got a clean slate. I mean, that's not true. I've never done anything wrong by the law. I've never been in trouble with the law or anything. So she's reading out my passport number and everything, and she gets off and she said, you know what? I don't know how, but they said yes. So I went on I got on. Thank you, Mother Goddess.
That's right.
And I did something similar when I got here to the hotel yesterday. I'm blubbering. By this point, I've had 5 hours of just being pushed around one line to another line to another line. I'm going to say this. I told you I wouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it. It's my last vice. I'm a smoker. It's terrible, I know. You're meant to be spiritual. You shouldn't have any of that shit, but I am. So by now, I'm absolutely hanging. I'm thinking I'm going to get outside and I'm going to be able to finally have a cigarette. Nope, not allowed to do that. So I get to the hotel. I'm told it's 100% smoke-free. There's no smoking. You're allowed to order 2 drinks a day. Well, I don't really drink that much, although we did on my birthday, and I think we did again the night before I left. So we both woke up a little bit seedy, even though we only had 3 drinks, but we're a little bit seedy the day I was leaving. I was like, oh, my God, I hate this shit. I'm not doing that anymore. But when I got to the hotel and I hear all of that, I've had 5.5 hours hanging, waiting, and they say all of that. And haven't even got a room key. I came thinking that I was going to be allowed out for 1 hour a day, like in a courtyard or something. I just lost it. And I'm crying and crying and crying. There's all these policemen in desks in front of me and they're asking me all these personal questions. And you cry and you're getting all wet, snotty. I'm inside a mask. So I went to lift my mask up to blow my nose and I get, I'm like, oh, my God, I'm not even allowed to blow my nose. That's it. I don't want to live anymore. I'm done. So I came upstairs and I just cried and cried and cried. And then I went and had a shower and everything. And I don't know, a few hours later I went, it's okay. This is, 2 weeks is nothing in a lifetime. You're going to be okay. So, yeah, it was, oh, my God, it was a massive 36 hours. It really was. It really was. God, it really was. And then it doesn't stop. I mean, while I was in America, they cancelled all my bank cards. So today I thought, okay, first job today is to get some ATM cards again. So I've got access to money. I ring up this morning and it's like, actually, there was something else yesterday I wanted. And they said, no, we can't deliver that I get here and just as we're coming through the outer gate, there's SIM card things there. I knew my American SIM card wouldn't work. I've got an American phone. So I grabbed a free SIM card thing and I get here and I activate it, paid $50 to be able to use it and find out Australian SIM cards don't fit in American phones. So then I ring Optus, a mobile company here, to say I need a new phone. And they say, no, sorry, we're not allowed to deliver phones to hotels. What's your address? I'm like, oh, I don't have an address. I mean, there are so many things we're being tested left, right, and centre, like constantly. It's just been, and at the same time, you know, when this came through and I knew I belonged, you know, I have to do this. I've lost myself. It's interesting because it's almost like I'm currently multidimensional. There's this inner self or higher self that's just assuring me everything's okay. And then for the human, these constant tests, you know, that I have to keep overcoming as well.
Sounds like a microcosm for all of us, although yours is kind of extreme. But it's, you know, stepping into that thick of a 3D. That's like I told you, I couldn't have done it.
At the airport, I thought, oh, this is everything's going wrong. Like I went through, I think it's security, and and I've traveled like constantly for the last 10 years, not the last 2, but for the last 10 years. And I had forgotten to take my laptop out of my bag.
Yeah.
And I got pulled up by security, and they were really quite angry and nasty about it. And they made me wait. I had to wait 20 minutes while they went to the end of the line for that bag with my laptop out to go through again. It's just like, what the hell is going on here? I'm sure I've made the right decision. Like, why is this so bad? And then I decided, oh, well, I haven't been in civilization. I mean, Arkansas is pretty quiet and we keep to ourselves mostly. So I thought, I've entered the matrix and I'm being tested, you know, the matrix presents this, this, and this, you know, are you okay? Well, yes, I am. And I was okay till I actually got to the hotel, and then it was probably almost like that 36 hours of just test after test after test finally hit me. And then I wasn't even allowed to blow my own nose. It was like, oh, I'm done. I don't even know what to do with myself anymore. I'm just done.
Rachel Rich is in Adelaide. She said we have to throw you a package up to your window because you're in Sydney.
I'm in Sydney. Yeah, I so desperately want to be home in Adelaide. I thought if I went to Adelaide, you know, some of my friends in Adelaide might be able to sneak me this and that and whatever I might want. But yeah, I'm in Sydney, so yeah. And then, you know, every day, the psychologist rings you, the nurse rings you, the doctors ring you, the police ring you, and reception ring you. And I said to them, I've got appointments, which, you know, I have a few appointments, and I don't want my phone ringing every 5 minutes. So every morning they said, if you ring us, every one of us, the police, the doctor, the psychologist, the nurses, and reception, and tell us you're okay, we won't ring you. I'm like, thank you. I don't know if you can see the phone. I took it off the hook just in case you know, so that's really nice that all the, you know, everyone involved here is making sure that they're ringing every person in the room every day to see if they're okay. But
well, they're following directions, just like all the people they're herding. But it really, it's like I don't know. It's like well, there's a lot of things to it. One of them is, because I'm sure people have a lot of questions. Although people are really good, I think they can feel the energy. I don't think anybody thought we were breaking up or anything. But you know, no, I'm serious. But okay, so if you look at your situation,
well, maybe some did. You've already started getting messages from women, haven't you? Like hinting, sort of. No. So maybe there are a couple that did.
No. So you have this situation, and in order to, it's almost like going through like a portal or a wormhole or something. And so you got to go, and it's the 3D. So you can't wait for it to, like, you know, I see like a swinging door, one of those swinging doors. You can't really wait for it to open up. You just have to jump in. Right.
Yeah. And I actually feel like I've pushed myself through something like an Armageddon, like a 3D matrix. Like I said, at first I thought, oh my goodness, this is what society is actually experiencing. And I've been so out of it, I wasn't aware. But I told you this morning, I woke up at 4 o'clock and I got this huge big aha, which was that I hadn't, you know, I got this message on the 10th of March of, you know, everything's going to change. But the one I got this morning was, you haven't been present enough to meet all of your own needs. You've just been through a test to see how far you'll go to meet all your own needs, and it's ongoing. You're now in lockdown for 2 weeks, and you're going to have to meet all of your own needs one way or another. And interesting, you know, if I ran out of tea bags this morning, and I go, I have to ring reception to ask for more tea bags. But the fact that I have to do that is, it's almost like it's training me to meet all of my own needs and face whatever is before me, to make the thing that I want happen.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so the other thing too is you don't know what's going to happen. You know, I did a show with Christy Grace, and I was talking to her because she was at, you know, we announced it. We announced that you were heading out. When did I do that? The day after? I don't remember. But she said, I said to her that you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we're saying goodbye to each other. We had good notice, right? we had at least 10 days, something like that.
Was it that long? I thought it was like, well, I suppose a week and a half might be 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days. Yeah. Well, I mean, from the time I bought the ticket. And so, and she's
which like, was the day, which was you, I think you bought the ticket on the day that I actually said, I have to do this.
No, I couldn't buy it because I had to take out a loan.
Oh.
Well, might as well throw all of our stuff out there, right? Yeah. So, no, because I had to wait for the loan. It took like 3 days. But what I was going to say is, you know, I was talking to her and I said, well, you don't know what's going to happen. So you don't know. And we said this, we don't know if we'll see each other in 6 months, a year, 2 years, or ever. But the same thing is, I could go to the store right now and you're still here. That's what I told her. You were here when I did the show. And I said, well, I could go to the store and I don't know when I'm going to come back. I mean, you just don't know. There's something about what's playing out, and I'm sure it's more than us, where the 3D is, I guess, being, being confronted with the type of energy that someone like you carries, you know, so it cannot not have an effect on it. But I think the extent of this experience, and from what you described to me, including you can't take pictures in the airport, just like you can't take pictures on the southern U.S. border of Mexico where they're keeping all these people, so this shit ain't gonna fly. But the question is, you know, one of many, what are we gonna do? And I think, to me, this is what you do. You don't engage the matrix. You're in the 5D. You have a you could say, you know, like a point of destination in mind before the next one, and you're in 5D. You're going to 5D, and in between you're going to be swimming through 3D, and you just do it, and you don't get bogged down in what's thrown at you, which is what you did. Even though you got upset, but I mean, who wouldn't?
No, I absolutely got bogged down yesterday by the time I arrived to the hotel, and I'm surrounded in police and army, being told, you know, you don't get a room key. We'll come and get you out of there on the 3rd, provided you don't have COVID. If you've got COVID in that period, you know, you have to contact us on the 13th to see if we're going to let you fly to Adelaide on the 14th. So it's like, shit, do you buy a ticket? What? I feel like I entered the matrix doing this. I stayed in the matrix and for a short period, or actually 36 hours of the travel thing, because it's so loud in airports. And in a way, I'm still in here because I am jailed. I'm locked up. I can't go anywhere. And then, you know, there's this point of, well, you know, what am I going to learn from this? What are the good things about this? You know, to try to find a way to make the best of it. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm really undecided, you know, did I enter the matrix by doing all of that, or was this really all about, you know, finding the energy, the power to know how to meet your own needs regardless of anything? You know, to me, that seems to be a bottom line key. If I pick me, and every moment that I pick me, everything sort of seems to align around me, which is 54 years of undoing, you know, programs and patterns of not being a people pleaser and making sure everyone else is okay, but actually picking yourself and amazingly finding that, you know, eventually everything lines up. Even if you do have to go through, it was almost like going through a veil of all this thick, yucky, fear-based energy and coming out the other end and finding, oh, well, I'm okay anyway.
Yeah. 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 I don't, this is my personal opinion, whether it was you or somebody else. With what I've heard, you haven't entered the matrix. You're traveling through what looks like the matrix. You're not seeing it through the same eyes, and you're not handling it. And, you know, another example I'd give you too is when you were telling me that you sat on the bus and you started crying.
Yeah, just as I arrived, and I realized, yeah.
And I said, well, what was everybody else doing? They said, you said, Todd, they were just all being quiet. Like nobody, that to me,
yeah. That was really weird to watch. I mean, there's 22 of us that have just traveled from America to Australia. Everyone was in absolute silence. You know, how to stand in all these lines, not one single person asked for a thing. We were never offered a drink. You were told, stand here, don't move, we'll come and get you when we're ready. You didn't even hear couples talking to each other, and everyone just remained in silence through the whole thing. And I guess, you know, last night I was wondering what would happen if I got here and said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a smoker. No one told me that this was going to happen. Why are you forcing me to quit smoking right now with no choice at all? But everyone just remained absolute silent. I was basically at the front of the bus, so I don't know if anyone else got upset or anything. I didn't see anything. But nobody said, in fact, we were told when we got there, if you're a smoker, we've entered a 100% non-smoking hotel. If you're struggling with it, please ring the psychologist and they'll bring you some patches up. That was it. I mean, which is nice. They're sort of, you know, taking something into account, but and I actually stood there crying, and I said, Mother God, I don't care what happens, give me a balcony. You know, at the time I thought, well, maybe I can sneak outside for a cigarette. But I've got this tiny balcony that if you were here, you and I would just squeeze into it. And anytime I go out there, I can see cigarette butts all around the edge. I mean, people are obviously sneaking out at night. You couldn't now, but sneaking out at night and having a cigarette or two. But yeah, it's a really interesting. And there's a part of me who says, well, you know, it's a country in fear. Honor what they're doing and what they need, and keep reminding yourself, you know, this is a temporary situation. You've done what you're meant to do. I mean, there's no part in my whole being that doesn't know that what I'm doing is right, or what I've done is right, that I'm meant to do this. As from left field that it came in, and it really shocked me. But yeah, it's a really interesting period. And so I arrived here yesterday morning at 10:30, and that's not classified as a day. So today is day one.
I'd be in jail already. They would have caught me breaking. So, yeah, I still, you know, I just want to say that one more time. I look at what you were telling me, and I was there because I'm you know, and I was there, and then you're telling me what you're doing, and I know you so well, and the whole thing, like with wanting to blow your nose, and they wouldn't let you blow your nose, and nobody's saying anything. And I think about my own experience and everybody that I've observed and all these conversations we've had. And so here's one person out of 22 who is allowing their emotions. So I think about the other people, and I think to myself, what a energetic snapshot of what this does. First of all, the mask, obviously, because energetically that's shut your mouth. And then of course, all the compliance stuff. It's almost like, how far can we take you? And so if I, you know, using that example, because I'm looking at going, okay, what are we doing that other people may not be doing? Now, for me, I know, and you know this, learning to sit with my emotions. So allow my emotions. So here's 22 people. One person does it. What would have happened if 15 or 20 of the people started crying? Now, this is what I see is going to happen, because these things are going to show up. It's not going to be the rebellious acts and the fighting and protesting. It's going to be simply somebody Because when you're in your emotions like that, you're in your power. I mean, you're in yourself. You're in your presence. You're present with yourself. So yeah,
nobody had said anything to us like for the whole time. I think on the bus as we arrived and the policeman stood up, that was the first time we were told anything. And for me, it was so confronting. I think that's what made me cry. But nobody the whole time had said, oh, look, we're really sorry. You need to stand in this line. We're going to keep you here till the previous plane goes through. Like none of that was explained at all. So I think I actually think everybody was in shock. And yeah. I spoke to the nurses yesterday and the psychologist. I spoke to everyone, the police, the receptionist, the doctor, everyone. And I said, it was so shocking for me. I was so shocked. It was so confronting. And they said, yes, it really is. A lot of people suffer for the first few days and then they adjust to it. So we're very pleased to hear that you've adjusted on the first day. Now, I know that I cried, but I was one of the first 3 off the bus. I didn't look back and see what anyone else was doing, but the psychologist has explained to me it is a very, very shocking experience. It really is like just being put in jail, and that people are suffering for the first few days and then they integrate and they sort of, relax into it. It's been a really bizarre experience, especially when you've received an inner guidance. You need to do this. It needs to happen now. And you're doing the right thing to come up against all of this 3D matrix stuff. And even the police are saying, you'll be allowed to leave between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. on the 2nd of May, provided we give you clearance on the day before. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, if you passed your COVID test, your PCR test, they call it COVID tests themselves, your PCR test on the 12th, if that comes through on the 13th and it's cleared, you can book a flight to Adelaide and we will give you written permission to leave the hotel and to catch your flight. And it's like, oh my God. And I'm sitting here thinking, I've got no cards. All my banks have been shut down because I was gone for so long. No one will open up another bank account because you have to actually be there in person to give all your documentation. I'm sitting here going, who the hell gave you permission to shut my bank accounts down in the first place? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just there's so many ridiculous. It's almost like being in a maze, a 3D matrix maze, where you actually have to work your way out of it. You actually literally have to work your way out of it. And it's interesting because the higher self or inner self, or there's some inner guidance, says, keep going, keep going, keep going. You are doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, again, that's what got us here. I think this is just like a really amplified, magnified occurrence of what's happening. I was checking the news this morning when I was just getting up and just looking around the internet. So there's I talk about Robert Sepper a lot. There's another guy out there. It's called We Are Change. It's not the same type of format that we have here at Soulogy, but it's very, very, very balanced in the way it's presented. It's funny. It's got a lot of wisdom. His name is Luke Rzdowski, called We Are Change. Anyway, he was doing a feature this morning on a few things. And one of those things was Canada. And Canada had some announcements yesterday, such as, and it was in Ontario. And first of all, some guy getting up going, we are the most responsible in all of North America in Ontario, Canada. Here's all of our new laws. Then this lady came on and she said, we are giving the police added powers to detain anyone who is traveling, to the right to pull them over and ask them where they're going, the right to show up at places of employment to check with the managers to see who's actually needed there. So it went on. And then he went on to say that several police organizations in Canada have already told the authorities they are not going to enforce it, that they are not going to do this. And then they started to talk about Australia. And they basically said that Australia had quite a few measures up right now that they were considering. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens. It'll be interesting.
Well, I met a couple on the plane who said to me that they actually purposely went and got the vaccinations like 4 or 5 weeks ago so they could avoid this. And they were from Melbourne, so they landed in Sydney because Melbourne International Airport's currently closed down. They landed in Sydney believing, and they've got their flights to go straight to Melbourne. So they were more shocked than I was that they were being dragged into hotel quarantine because they kept saying, they're showing their documents. We're vaccinated. We don't need to do this. We're vaccinated against this.
Yeah. There's 144 people in the house. 44 people on YouTube. That's interesting. 72 in Facebook. Yeah, that's crazy. So, and then there's another side to this, right? So like, as I was talking to Christy Grace and actually talking to Franco yesterday on the show we did yesterday, there's the other side to this. There's this side to this that that got us all here. It's that guidance. Things change. I mean, there's just so much involved. And then, of course, the last 30 days have just been ridiculous. Last 5 weeks have been ridiculous with the equinox in the middle of all that. And everyone's been talking about it, talking about having to let go of grief, talking about a couple of other issues. I can't remember off the top of my head what was up, but but I just wanted to kind of mention this. And again, this isn't really, about Morgan and I, but I guess it is. But our relationship has always seemed to parallel the collective energies in this dance of feminine and masculine. So there's a couple things I thought would be important to point out. So in 2017, it was Valentine's Day in the U.S. and I was in New York, living out of a suitcase, trying to find my way to her, not really knowing the human part of me if it could really happen. But of course, the other part of me thought, fuck this shit's going down, Well, I was about 2, 3, 4, 5 months into really getting out there and doing this, which was pretty scary in itself. And I had this relationship, this connection with Morgan, and she's got some things going on. She was going through some major stuff. So I open up to Facebook and I see on her page and my heart just dropped, right? Because there was this flower on her table.
If you're going to tell a story, you're not allowed to miss out important bits.
Okay, well, go ahead. Go ahead and tell that part.
So from the very beginning that we met, I was very, very direct. I just say it like it is, which was a bit of an issue.
Was it?
So...
With me? That was never an issue.
Anyway, so you stopped talking to me for 9 months. You didn't speak to me.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That is not true.
Yes, it is. 9 months.
No, we met. No. Okay, go ahead. You tell me how it went down.
Yep. So there was this huge period of nothingness, and that was fine. I had I have a lot of work that I do in Amber, a lot. The person that I work with is like, when are you getting back? Oh my God, I need you for the next 6 or 8 weeks. I'm like, yes, good. I can get some money so I can get my own house again. But I was helping the lady next door with her gardening. And at the end of one day, she gave me this flower, which looked like it was from Mars or something. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I wish I knew the name of it. And I just put it up on a page. And so you sent me a message, and we hadn't spoken for 9 months. And you said, oh,
that's not true.
Yep. I'm really, really happy for you. He's a very lucky man. And so I wrote back, that was from the lady next door. So, we were like right on again. You realize that you needed to go off and do some really strange things.
Hang on. Let's
for that time.
I left on October 13th, 2016, which was 10 months after I met you. Nothing had changed. I left. I obviously had a lot of stuff going on. And so we stayed into contact, but we would talk and then we would stop and then we would talk. But when we weren't talking, I would always send you a note, say, I love you, Morgan Lee. I would always do that. And I would do it every night. But the reason I brought that up is because when we reconnected in that February 2017, then we talked.
14th of February.
14th.
Your 13th.
That's right. Everything was happening on the 13th. I left on the 13th.
Because you thought that I'd met a new man. in that 9 months.
Well, I was just
virtually nothing. I did
late.
send you a message in December, but
no, we were still talking.
You needed to go off and do some really, you needed to go off and do your own thing for a while.
Hey,
and that was fine.
I left my home with 11 cents in my pocket. So, and believe me, it was rough. Okay. So the reason I brought that up is because when that happened and then we decided that you were going to come over, you told me at that time, okay, without getting into all of the story, you said, I'd like to come. And I said, give me 24 hours. Because at the time, the universe was showing me a couple of timelines and they involved a different path. And it was really not even in consideration of a partnership. It was just Soulogy. It was just showing me how this could happen where I was in New York City. So, but the reason I said, give me 24 hours, because I knew that it was that big of a deal. And so I did. Of course, I'd probably only thought about it for like 24 seconds. And then I called you back and I said, yeah, let's do this, because I knew it was more than just this. You'd always known, but I didn't. So the reason I say that is because I was actually shown a timeline. Now, I've only seen the timeline one at a time, and it was a long time ago. But then another one came up, and this was in the last week, right? Like this started happening for us on your birthday on March 10th. And
we got on the 10th of March, this huge big light language activation came in. Excuse me, I have to put that out. A huge big light activation came in. I think it went on for like 20 minutes or something. Interestingly, I didn't understand a word that was said. Beth was there as well. And both of us felt the energy of completion or endings or something like that. I think it was only about 9:15 at night, my birthday, and it knocked me out. I had to go to bed.
Yep.
Now, then it was the next night that it came in again, but for me it was translated more English, and it was basically, live your truth, live your truth, let go of everything that's not living your truth. This gets very interesting for me because you are my truth. I mean, I just absolutely adore you, love you. I have such reverence and respect and everything for you, but I really also missed terribly my people, my family, my kids. Like probably for the last year, I've struggled more and more. And so my truth for me was I needed to be on my own turf. I've really struggled being in America. So I was at that point, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I love this man. I want to be with this man, but I miss my life. And so you saw me. I turned into a freaking robot, a crocheting knitting machine, like for 12, 15 hours a day for 3.5 weeks, didn't I? I don't know how. I still don't know how I do. I usually make 1 or 2 fairly large, maybe a double-sized crocheted rugs a year. I did 4 rugs in that 3.5. No, I finished 1 rug. I partially finished another, and I did 2 queen-size rugs in that period. And you said to me every time you walked past me, there I was, like a million miles an hour, crocheting. And I had to do that. And so that lasted for 3.5 weeks. And then I sent you a message. We didn't even talk in that time. I sent you a message. Okay, I've made a decision. And it took me that time to come to my truth was, no matter how I feel about this man, I need to be where I belong. And it was really hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. And it took me 3.5 weeks of absolute silence. I didn't speak to anyone, I think, but my son, because I'm never going to not speak to my son.
You were a robot.
I was a robot. It was just like,
but so you're doing that. And so, okay. So Wednesday was your birthday. Thursday was the night it came in, the next night. Friday, it hit. Friday it hit me, but at the same time it hit me, you came home, and I guess it had landed with you because I immediately picked up the energy. So then we did what we normally do when we need to. We separate. Now you're like a robot doing the crochet. We watch a movie every 2 or 3 nights. We might watch a movie together, but I just come back there.
We didn't in that period at all. We didn't.
Yeah, we watched a couple.
No, we didn't. We tried, and we got 10 minutes into it, and something triggered, and like we basically remained separate for that whole 3.5 week period, and we probably said maybe 10 sentences to each other.
Yeah,
and it wasn't out of anger or anything like that. It was just like no one knew what to say. There was nothing to say.
Well, everything was look, I spent that 3 weeks in the back, mostly in the back with the forest, and I knew exactly what was happening. You know, I didn't know all the details, but I knew. First of all, I knew that you were going to Australia, so I had to go through all these different things. And again, this was my version of what a lot of people were going through during this time. And so whenever we sat and talked, you know, it wasn't a surprise to me. And also, but you know how these things come in, they don't sink in for a few days. And the reason I brought that story up is because I was shown 3 timelines. Like, this is after the fact, though. Now you're on the plane, you've left. I'm good. We're both good. You know, you're dealing with the matrix in the quarantine, but I'm good. And so I saw these 3 timelines, and they all led to the same place. And one was
you're not. When we connected yesterday, when I finally got to the hotel, and as soon as we connected, you just started crying. I need a wee. I'm coming back in a minute. You can just
okay. So what does that have to do with what I was saying? Why wouldn't I cry? So anyway, what happened was I was shown these 3 timelines, and one of the timelines her and I chose, I would say in 2017. Okay. And that timeline was on track. And then when this came to me, these 3 timelines, it showed me all 3 go to the same place, but that we had now, not just us, but now that the collective awareness had gotten to a certain point, that we had the ability to accelerate the timelines options, or create more timeline options, and also accelerate the movement energetically, because we've all accelerated it collectively. And so when I talked to Franco yesterday, that was one of the things I brought up to him. I said, man, you sure look like you are really excited. You're more excited as time goes on, because now this is a guy, like a few others out there, who has been aware of what's going on for really all his life in terms of what's going to happen. And even Morgan has known what's going to happen for 15 or 20 years. So I think that's important to note, that things aren't always what they appear. So you have, I look at this situation, and we both do, and we both understood it because she got some channeling. We both got some downloads individually and together, but she got some channeling that was specific to what I was getting downstairs. And that was in regard to what we do. So in 2018, we had a divine union ceremony. She came for 12 weeks. And I distinctly remember, and I don't remember what it was, but it would have been around Lionsgate. And I distinctly remember 2 people, and I remember one of them, but I can't remember the other one. So these were high frequency people. Both told us the reason she's there and the reason you're here has to do with the hemispheres. And there's some major shit going down, and your anchors are needed. And I feel like this is another thing that's happening. One of many things that's happening is there is a lot being stabilized right now. We are the grid. So that's part of it. And I think the other part of it is there's, in my opinion, that sometime in this time period, the balance of masculine and feminine reached a new point. And I think we're reflective of that too, which has to do with the elimination of time and space. So we're going to be having a lot of Helioscamas. What else?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything you said. There was a knock at the doors. I had to wee, and I got like my lunch pack.
That's your lunch pack?
Yeah. This is my favorite part of my lunch pack.
What is that?
Can you guess?
It's got to be chocolate.
So I got a little miniature pack of Australian chips. Oh my God, the food here in Australia is so good. An apple that's actually going to taste like an apple. I don't know what's in here, but it's all vegetarian. And my favourite bag is this bag.
Chocolate.
No, tea. Lots of bags of tea. Sugar. I love tea. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear what you said, but I did hear you say, you know, we're part of the new grid, and I got a download, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago that said, God, I can hardly remember it. What do you call it? Ascension memory.
Ascension amnesia.
Ascension amnesia. Ascension
Well,
amnesia.
so yeah, you better talk about it because I don't know what I can say and can't. But the fact is, we are a physical representation, and it could be a person, and in this case, it's a couple, or really two people and also a couple. So there's actually 3 things you can look at of the new energy, what it's going to look like in terms of. Look, we spent 3 weeks, and we do that. We can go all day and not talk to each other. But this was a very extraordinary event. We've been through a lot of elevations, a shitload of them. But in this case, one of the things that was really cool was there was so much telepathy. Like, we really didn't talk that much. When we came back together, we had a short conversation, then we had another short conversation, and then we had a longer conversation each of the next few days. But there really wasn't anything that needed to be said. There really wasn't. There wasn't a whole lot of, and some of that's because you could see what was happening over the previous few months or whatever. But yeah, that was one of the things that really, like, I really was able to go, look, I don't even need to go there because I already know. And it's tricky too, because you can feel the other person, and then you have to like figure out, okay, that's her, that's me. Even now, like yesterday, when she landed, I was doing a show and I felt this big, huge ache in my heart, like panic. And I went, oh shit, that's her. And I just immediately went into action energetically. But so I think that's another thing that I look at this, and it isn't just us. It's happening everywhere. People are talking about it. So that's another thing.
One of the downloads that I got, earlier in the month, I think it was about the 3rd of April, was that, all of us who are moving towards, new earth, new grid, whatever you want to call it, a new matrix, a new dimension, whatever you want to call it, were being asked to take a leap of faith, like a real leap of faith. And that really played into that as well. And then the other thing that happened too was, and I hadn't actually discussed this with you yet because I just thought there was a divine time for it. And it wasn't just me, I speak to a lot of people, a lot of, clients or whatever, and a lot of girlfriends, a lot of female peers. And there's quite a few of us to discuss this. There's something that happened with the feminine. I think it was, around solstice, for me.
Equinox.
Is it called Equinox?
Equinox.
Yeah. So, around the middle of March, around, for me, it happened I guess I felt it on the 9th. We had a meeting that night with the committee, and boom, I felt something. Then the next day, that light language activation came through, and then the 11th, more information came through. And I think it was a few days after that, and I hope I don't upset you, but the feminine, a lot of the females or the feminine energy on the planet understood, our time of overfixing, not overfixing, that we weren't here to watch anyone anymore. We weren't here to extend our energy over to other people's lives, other people's dreams. There was a real defining moment that sort of said, hang on, even if it was unconscious, life's about me now. I've got to do everything that's right for me. I'm actually not here to look after other people. And maybe some of that, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe the dark mother energy or whatever, just dissipated or collapsed, or almost like all at once. Mm-hmm. And it was like our
it's less a lifestyle change and more of a program dropping. right?
Yeah, there was a program dropping there that, you know, sort of almost for the first time ever recognized these, God, I don't know if it's okay to talk like this.
Well,
All these adults,
yeah,
they're adults, they look after themselves, walk away, let them be big enough and let them work it out for themselves now. You're no longer there to actually help them through this. They're going to do it more powerfully and in full self-empowerment themselves. You don't need to be there to babysit. God, that sounds so disrespectful, but you know, sometimes there's not actual words for energy things that happen.
Yeah, and that's coming from your perspective and your experience
Of
too. But
course,
I think
yeah.
a lot of women can, and obviously they can relate to it.
Well, yes, I've heard from a lot. There was
Yeah.
this moment in time of like, okay, I've helped, I've carried, I've been supportive, I've been so many.
What?
I'm done. I'm done. I just need to worry about myself now. All of my energy needs to come towards myself and my own dreams and things like that. And he's going to work it out for himself. And that was such a loud, it was like a bang. It was such a huge, loud energy that we're actually robbing ourselves and other people by consciously or unconsciously interfering in their paths. And that true sovereignty for self meant that you just do what's right for you and you let everyone that you love and care about, no matter what the relationship, work it out for them themselves.
Yeah.
You know, that our job was to do whatever it took to step into our own truth, no matter what that looks like.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are saying, I mean, they're getting it. And another way to say it is when you're, and it doesn't matter if you're masculine or feminine, because any empath out there, which is probably everybody on here, has been an overgiver and has taken care of themselves as a second priority. So I think that's part of the program. The program is if I'm overextending myself over here, I'm cheating myself, and I don't think the energy is going to allow you to do that anymore. So I see that part of it, and then I look at the shows. The shows, especially as time goes on, they're so indicative of what's happening. If most of the time, right? Most of the time, you can actually read what's happening. At least I can, because I sit in this chair. But one of the things that happened was something happened. I believe it was Monday morning. God, when did you leave? Like 2 days ago, right? What's today? Yeah. So it was last Monday. So there was a week. There was a week before, which I went on for 5 days, and I don't even know how I did it. I didn't want to do it. I struggled, but I was told you've got to do this because this energy has to be presented. The confusion and all this defragmentation has to be presented. So the Monday comes around. I have a day off, I think, and Miguel Dean came on. And Miguel Dean just made this incredible 5-minute video, spoken word video called The Horn God. Who is the Horn God? That's how it starts out. So Miguel comes on Monday, and I've done a lot of shows with Miguel, but it's been about a year. And the energy of that collaboration was so incredible because you could see the new masculine energy that you could feel it. And then later on, Michael Mejia came on. There was a couple other shows. So this is all souls, and it's playing out in a lot of different ways. I had two or three women write me after, I think 2 were after the Miguel show and 1 or 2 after Michael Mejia. And they all said the same thing. They said that the show was really powerful. I don't remember the details, but they said something in my masculine got either released, brought up, triggered, or something. But they all used those words. I thought, wow, that's interesting. That's interesting to be part of that and for them to see it that way. But again, like if you look at all these comments with what you're saying, everybody's right on line with it. Collective grief was released.
So let's talk about yes, collective grief, and there was a lot of grief for us through this process too. Let's talk about what happened to you, like energetically, like as we connected hands every night. There was no masculine there at all. The masculine was 100% dying. You were fully aware of your own
let's
feminine.
back up. You're talking about I got to get my bearings straight. This is this week. So you're talking about last week. Yeah. And really leading up to it. I get you. So there was, as we put our hands together, there was less and less of a masculine presence. That's what you're saying. Yeah. I agree with that.
So
until the last night.
It's Monday here and it's Sunday for you. So in America, you start your new week on a Sunday, and it's actually Monday here. So this is a new week. So last week, nearly every single night, you were having experiences of the masculine as you had known him was no longer presenting, and you were actually having experiences of just fully being 100% your own feminine. And then when my light body came in, it was feminine as well. So you were saying like you actually felt like a lesbian. So you have been in the last couple of weeks fully embodying your feminine energy. And each time, a bit more and a bit more of her came in, you had awareness of that old distortion, the old patriarchal programs or whatever, actually dropping away in order to allow for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So, as we're having these human experiences and watching what our human, because we're now actually multidimensional, and I shouldn't say that because we've always been multidimensional. Even when we were asleep, we were multidimensional beings. Carl Jung spoke about the 12 different personalities. Every one of us flip between, in this moment I'm the writer, and then I'm the teacher, or then I'm and that's not personal. I don't see myself like that at all. But whatever it is, I'm the cook, the cleaner, the lover, the magician. We all have these different aspects of us that operated anyway, just in a 3D dimensional space. What we're currently doing is watching all of that die and drop down and merge as one. And now we're actually contending with all these multidimensional, universal multidimensional aspects. Our light body, has its voice, and our higher self has a voice, and this human now has a new voice. And so we're watching this multidimensionality operate. We're almost like becoming avatars of like the manager of not controlling, I really don't like that word, but managing this human being that has multi-dimensional facets and aspects, and learning to remain calm in the eye of the storm, and actually watching it like it's all just a projection and a movie playing out around us, with opportunities of either lessons or new choices or love or fear or expansion or activations. We are becoming so conscious. It's almost like mind-blowing.
Yeah. So we obviously have had this evolution in our sacred sexuality, which we've talked about, and you're right. Let's just say, since the first of the year, even before, but it's been creeping in. There's been times that your masculine light bodies come out, my feminine light bodies come out. We watch them make love, and so on. So right after we reconnected, for the first 3 or 4 nights, you're right, I was extremely into my feminine. It was crazy.
You loved it. You felt your own vagina, and you were worried that my masculine light body would come out and attempt to make love to you, and you became very protective. You were saying to me, this is sacred. Do not come near my yoni. Like, I don't want anything or anyone near it. So, all this is, it's just been...
Well, it was, okay, yeah. It's
like watching 15 movies all at once and seeing how they all intertwine and work together to perfection.
Well, and so, yes, it's a little bit out of order, but yes. And so what ended up happening was the night before the last night, well, first of all, let me say, in the forest where you're doing the manic crocheting, I knew at that time for Todd that the masculine had come in. Like, it fully came in. So when we went and laid down after the lull, I was a little bit shocked that the feminine was still trying to poke her head out, right? So this went on, and what you're referring to, what happened was, so there's like 3 or 4 nights it continued. And then I remember, I think it was the 3rd or the 4th night, it was the first time that I was able to sustain my light body in my body. And so what happened was, the feminine came in, she led the way. You could say that. She led the way. And I did see and feel my vagina. I could feel my breast. It was crazy. I'm looking at you, and I have two choices. I see your masculine and I see your feminine. And I'm like, I don't want to go near that masculine. I don't trust him, you know? So I was, you know, etherically merging with your feminine. And then after that had happened a while, then the masculine came over and it happened with the masculine. But the last night, and I even said it to you. I think I said to you when I walked in the room, I said, there ain't no feminine here tonight. Like, it's done. I didn't mean that she wasn't here. I just meant that's all done. And of course, we had an incredible night, which was it was pretty crazy. But that night, that last night for me anyway, and I know you're already galactic, but our light body, my light body, we were in a sacred sexual atmosphere, and I was physically in dimension like I'd never been before. And I know she was, there's no doubt. And that was like crazy. It was like the greatest episode we've ever had, which is saying a lot. So the next day I drop her off at the airport. I come back. I drop her off at the airport. I'd already processed all the grief the previous 2-3 weeks. I get in the car and I just fucking broke. Like for 5 minutes, I just broke, and then it was gone. And I thought, we're not apart. And to say it and feel it is two different things. We all know that. So then I went home and I did whatever I did. It was pretty weird walking into this house and she's not here. And everywhere I go, I smell her. So I'm closing all the doors just to be in one room and sit with that. Anyway, when I went to bed that night, I just knew to put my hand out, as I always do, to reach for hers. And I'm telling you, within 15 seconds, I was exactly in the same sacred sexual atmosphere. I was in a physical dimension with my lover, you, and it was the same thing. And a lot of other stuff happened. But and I wrote a poem about it. Which was really about the last night, which was basically that there's two of her and one of me, because I was embraced with the physical Morgan, yet I was watching the feminine Todd within myself making love to the masculine within myself, mimicking, copying, or the same things were happening. So that was a real eye opener, because I know that means something. That means there's more of that coming, right? And I look like hell. So, what else do you want to talk about? Are we going to merge right now? I will. As long as you can see me from the waist down, the waist up, I'm okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that one of the things we talked about too was, because everybody's talked about how time has been doing some weird stuff the last 15 months minimum. With the ascension amnesia, and people can't schedule stuff, and you can't construct things in the old 3D way. It has to be a flow, the feminine. But and I just got amnesia. Oh, we both mentioned, when we came out, we were comparing notes, reviewing, and and I knew, because I got it out there, that time has already started to go. Space has to go now, and you guys are doing your part to do that. It was really powerful, and it was a lot more comprehensive than that statement. But I really believe that's part of it. You're up. Why are you doing your eyebrow to me?
Nothing. Okay. Well, yes, I will tell you. I feel like, there's these certain periods, And on our way to the airport, you wanted to discuss all these matter-of-fact type things. I'm sitting there feeling quite emotional, thinking, God, this is huge. What I'm doing is huge. You got us lost twice. And I started to panic then. You know, you drove straight past the airport, you know, one point, and then you realised that you were lost. So you asked the phone, how do I get there? And you thought you got it, and then you turned the phone off and drove past it again. And you know, I was meant to be there at 1 o'clock, and it's now 17 past. I feel like you just actually stepped into that again. You know, it becomes very matter-of-factly, you know, as soon as something gets a little bit uncomfortable, then it's, you start talking details. So I was sitting there going, oh, I wonder what this is. You asked me, I just told you.
No, I'm not uncomfortable. No, okay. Because it's just like, you know, Christy asked me about it. Somebody else asked me about it. Franco and I talked about it. And, you know, at what point are any of us going to start living our lives from the vantage point of the higher perspectives? And that's a collective energy complex. At what point in our lives are we going to do it? Well, that's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing right now. We're engaging the 5D, and you could say, for lack of a better word, in defiance of the 3D. But how the hell do you think the transformation is going to happen if we're all sitting back scared? So I look at what you came to, and I'm 100% with you. You know, this is you going, I'm going to go into this abyss. I know where I'm going to land, and I don't know what's going to happen after that. And I think this is how it works. Oh, that's the other thing. Somebody wrote it, divine union. I talked to Franco about this. So because I told you already knew, but so it was it yesterday? I was like going, we actually did this. We've actually completed this merge. And I don't know how to explain that, but other than it's true. Like, this is the real deal. If two people can merge in equilibrium, it's not just going to stop there, right? I mean, this is the basis of that energy.
I think that it's my personal opinion that the true merge is something that happens within. And we've watched each other do that within ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, those that are lucky enough, or I should say brave enough or courageous enough to actually have a partner to do that with, you know, then have a reflection of what's actually going on within. So as you both actually do that feminine and masculine merge within, and, you know, we felt it happen. I felt it happen. Is there more to do? No doubt there probably is. I don't know. We became aware that it's okay for me to live in another country. It was always going to be okay anyway. I stipulated from the very beginning, I'm always going to be free. I'm going to move about as I want to, as I need to, and do, you know, what my higher self tells me to do. Yes, we get married, but don't for a moment think that, or me either, just because we're married, we're going to be like this, living in each other's pocket or each other's bedrooms or whatever, you know, for the rest of our lives. And for me, it feels like, okay, you've done enough now where it's okay that you can live on different continents or in different houses or in different rooms or whatever that looks like. And this energy doesn't go away. So, you know, I'm in Australia, Todd's in America. From everything I've been told, we just continue on, we'll expand. And the true thing is that you expand as an individual. It's not for the couple to expand. It's always for the individual to expand. So my sense is that, you know, that my masculine, my feminine is there. It's now learning. It's now discerning. It's now deciphering, okay, what does this mean? Todd Medina is my closest, most perfect picture of that. And so my understanding is that he'll do that too. And then, you know, in the future, when we come back together, everything shifts up again.
We've already seen that.
Did that make sense to you, Todd?
Yeah, I only, well, and I'm just going to say this because I don't give a shit. My intel goes a little bit further, and I don't think it's my intel at all. It's common sense to me. So you have what you've told me for years. You're going from the age of duality to the age of Trinity. Obviously, you're right. All of this. So when I say to Franco, we have created an externalization of divine unity. I mean, I'm feeling it. I'm living it. And I'm not saying that as, oh, wow, we did this. And it's not like that. It's the fact that you have this internal balance. Your closest mirror has it. And now the formation takes place in the physical. That's what I've always understood that we're doing here. We're actually bringing all that stuff in like people have talked about, but now it's going to start to physicalize. Okay, that's why I think when we talk about like some of what I've gotten in the last whatever, teleportation is not going to be simply the light body traveling across the globe or to another planet. It's going to be a physical reality. So this is where I'm going with it. And to me, it's very important, whether they're romantic or like Michael in Israel or any other type of connection where there's a heart-to-heart connection, a true heart-to-heart connection, that it opens up something. And I feel like we've just opened this up. Like I'm excited about this because I know it means for us, it means something beyond our wildest imagination, but also to me, because of the fact that a timeline shifted, that tells me, and also with talking to Franco's or Jason Estes, that we have accelerated our path. We've accelerated our timeline collectively. And to me, that's exciting. And I think these types of things are showing up. I mean, this is the same time period that Grace and Ryan were in Egypt. You know, I saw several accounts. Some of them were individual accounts, but I saw several accounts of people going through major epiphany, almost like a trigger, revelation, integration, activation, all in the same time.
Yeah, no, but you don't have to be in a relationship to experience that. We've got a very close friend, Beth, who's actually doing it herself. You know, she's gone off, she's hopped in a car, she got the download 4 days before she left and was like, quick, I have to go. And off she knows she's got something new, something different to do. She's got to be in a different location. She's doing it by herself. She's got all this awareness of what her masculine energy is doing and her feminine energy is doing. In absolute, another leap of faith and absolute trust and reverence for herself. Yeah. You don't have to be in a relationship to have these experiences.
No, not at all. And let me make this clear. Thank you, Ariana. I'm not scared. I'm not uncertain. Are you? I don't think you are either. No, we're absolutely not. I mean, this is, and I think, okay, so Morgan got a channel, one of many channels during this time period. And it was specifically citing individuals and couples, right? So it can be an individual, it can be a couple, probably could even be a small group, but I don't know how many people are that connected. Getting to 2 is hard enough, right? But what the channel said was that these people are going to start doing absolutely from society's norms, off the wall, crazy shit. And it's not going to be like, robbing a bank, or it's going to be stuff like this. And that the energy is going to be seen. It's not going to be through, seminars and presentations and all this stuff. It's actually going to be through the energetic force of what's occurring. I saw, and I don't see a lot of stuff like this, Morgan does, but I actually saw, without even trying, which was shocking to me, I saw her when she landed after the Franco show. I saw her, I saw North America, I saw Australia, and I saw a line drawn, and then I saw all the triads that we were a part of throughout the world, through virtual connection and through physical connection, or both, right? So this is just one example of two individuals. How many grids do we have laid down between just the people here that are connected to each other? Like Allison's in New York, Delia's in California, and somebody else's, you know what I mean? I mean, this is the real deal. So you going through what you've just gone through, and to be in that, look, I've known you for 5+ years, and we've been through some intense, crazy, off-planet on planet, off dimension, and I've traveled with you a lot. There's no way in hell that you should be in such a good state that you were this morning and still are today. I've never seen you like that. It always takes you 3-4 days just to recover. If we take a 5-hour trip, that's probably facetious, but I mean, if we have a couple days, you know, it takes you a while.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what, and again, we look for these as the individual goes, so goes the collective. We look for these patterns and these developments in our individual lives and know that they are accessible and available to us, and also gives us an idea to measure the collective. Oh, I want to say that too, because there's this element in all of our lives too. So when I met you and I convinced you to talk to me on the phone the first day I met you, I told you, I said, first of all, I had never heard of Adelaide. But the minute I got on the phone with her, I could smell the dirt. I could smell the sea. I was seeing a vision of this mountain with this giant Kuan Yin. There was just all kinds of stuff happening. So I always knew innately that for my own journey would go from North America to Adelaide and then to Antarctica. I still haven't figured that part out, although I'm getting closer. So yeah, I can't wait to go one day when I get there. I believe that's where I came in on the earth, South Australia. Somebody thought you were in trouble for taking the phone off the hook, and they came and knocked on the door to tell you to put it back on.
I wondered too. No.
There's 172 people here, and there's 8 people on the Soulogy Network site where you can watch these shows. We just don't have any archives yet. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for always supporting us, you know. And if you didn't see the Christy Grace show that we did, I talked about this a little bit, but we are committed, obviously, to ourselves, to each other, and to humanity. And Soulogy is part of our third energy, and that's never going to go away. You know, we still are working in tandem as we always do. And I would just say this too, since you've already thrown me into the bus. If you go back to the show on Monday, I think it's the one with Miguel Dean. It might have started a couple of shows before that, but all you have to do is take a look at Todd, and everything's different. My voice is different. Everything's different, and I know it's not just me. It's happening to people everywhere. You know. Pamela Johnson said earlier, I meant to tell you, she said she was there, watched the whole live when we had the Divine Union ceremony, which wasn't a marriage. It just happened to qualify for one. It was a Divine Union ceremony. And she said,
it was a marriage. We've got legal documents. We legally got married.
Yeah, but it was a Divine Union ceremony that just happened to fall within the parameters and compliances of being married. That's the way I look at it. That's just me, though. Yeah. So we got work to do.
Everyone's got work to do. Magic. Everyone's got magic to do.
That's right. That's right.
Some have got leaps to take. It feels like a huge reshuffle is about to occur again, whether it's a reshuffle, within your own environment, or to shuffle yourself out of that environment and into a new one, or, whatever. It really feels like a reshuffling time, a leap of faith time.
Yep. So it was interesting because when I called Jason Estes and we connected about Soulogy Fest, the first thing he said to me was, he said, dude, on the 15th of May, I forget the terms that he uses, but we're in the promised land. Like everything is unshackled. It's slowly coming off, right? And he said, in fact, the it's going to take 10 or 12 days to integrate it. And so when the Soulogy Fest occurs, it's actually going to be at the peak of potential. And then go figure, Franco says the same exact thing, right? So there's something to be said for that. It's 10 years on May 30th that Soulogy was born on the linear timeline. And it's 25 years on that day that Christy Grace was called to Sedona 25 years ago. So there's a lot of alignment. We saw this in Texas. We saw a lot of different things lining up at different levels. And I think that's going to continue for all of us. You know, they have a sweat lodge at that Soulogy Fest. I think I'm going to get in that sweat lodge, get naked, build a fire, and call you in. I'll close the door, though, in case anybody comes in. What else we got? Sessions. Sessions are all messed up. Did you want to talk
terribly, but I'm going to fix that. Yeah. So I thought, if I have to spend 2 weeks in a hotel room by myself, well, like, what do I want to do? I want to actually make use of the time. So I put up a special about sessions. It's completely screwed over. I've got to probably spend the whole night tonight emailing everyone. I think, when it was set up, the calendars weren't synced up or something. So people who are booking 4 o'clock sessions for them is also 4 o'clock for me. So there's going to be some sorting that out today for anyone. But, that's it. That's it. I'm going to sort it out.
Yeah, but everything's set now. So if anybody
well, it is set, but I do need to go back and reschedule everyone that's already scheduled so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not fixed. So I'm going to fix that and then it's set. So, I did that for me. I did that so I'd have something to do while I was stuck in this room for 14 days and also to help me, build some finance. So when I do get back to Adelaide, I can, as quickly as possible, find a place to live. Pull my stuff out of storage and do whatever I'm meant to do. And, there's this real feeling of, if you try to think about what's going to happen, it's almost like the slate is blank. And yet there's this feeling of, okay, this is what I have to do next. And then this is what I have to do next. And you can't really see into the future, which is odd for me because I've sort of been able to so far. But probably for this year, I can't actually tune in and see what's meant to be happening or what my steps are meant to be or a direction that I'm meant to be moving in. It's almost like the information comes, it's instant. You take this step, you don't know what's next, and you just have to be in faith, be in trust, and just keep moving forward. I was shown a vision. We were together with our hands together and shown a vision of a few nights ago of every time you actually move towards something. And for me, the vision I saw was like a massive, big, long tunnel with a womb. And as I took a step and moved towards that, I moved through the womb and then I could see another one over there. So, there's a real sense of the time for action, the time for movement forward, the time for leaps of faith or whatever feels like, that's what's actually going on at the moment. And I've done it and I can't believe I did it. It actually took me 3.5 weeks of integrating and accepting this is what you have to do. Yeah, it really was. It was.
It's not the first time you've done it. Not the first
no,
time.
I mean,
it
was different this time because, I had that 5 years ago when it was like, I have to go and meet this man. And then I asked you and like, no, I'm not ready. And a year later, I have to do this. Now I had all my friends and family say, don't do that. That's weird. That's, all this, really.
He might be a serial killer.
He might be a serial killer or something like that.
Does he have a job?
Yeah, there was all of that.
Does he have a
talking me out of doing this, but there was this pull from the inside. I have to do this, and I trusted that. And it's those moments when you allow yourself to follow that guidance are life changing. Such huge gifts. So I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what the end result is. I just have to keep doing this and move through whatever's in my way, like the airport yesterday, Sydney Airport. God. Just keep moving through all of that. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know, where I'm heading to or anything. I just I'm just doing what that inner guidance is telling me to do.
Yeah.
Being present for my human self, when it needs presence. My human self needed to cry yesterday, and I just held the space until that was done. Yeah.
Well, evidently I did too, according to what you told everybody.
Which was what? When I rang you yesterday, you were crying. Well, you did. I'm not.
I cried a little bit.
There's nothing wrong with that. It was beautiful.
I cried on Miguel Dean's show. He's telling me about some kids he's working with, and I'm crying, for Christ's sake. I cried with Christy. But a couple of people asked, the plan is that it's always been the plan that we're going to make our home in Adelaide. But to answer your questions, that's the plan. We could be called. We were living in Hawaii for 10 months with a view of the ocean and a waterfall 2 blocks down with pure internet, which is not easy to do out there. And we were making it. We weren't just living like kings, but we were making it. And we got the call. Get your stuff, get rid of it, and go to the mainland. So we're open. We're always open. We all have to be open. But yeah, that's our plan. Our plan is to be based in Adelaide. And
at this stage,
that's what I'm saying. I mean,
but anything's possible.
Anything can happen tomorrow. You never know. I mean, anything could happen. Anything. And this week too, it was Franco. There was somebody else. There was 3 people. And the short of it was things have moved so quickly that the speed of what was once subtle change is now going to be a more pronounced change, right? I mean, anything could change in our collective lives and personal lives in a heartbeat, in a very powerful way.
Well, the download that I got last week was that there'll be a lot of movement. There'll be a lot of, specifically women. I'm sorry. I know there's not really any difference, but, she has led for a while. So it makes sense that, she's going to take the first leaps. That we would literally watch a lot of women out of the blue take these big leaps of faith, and it would be palpable. Like it would be noticed all over the world. And that, a lot of those leaps wouldn't make a lot of sense initially. But, once they were there and settled and, aligned with the next result, it would all make sense. And yeah, sorry, but a lot of women would be doing that first. And we've been talking for a long time about the necessity for women to rise up into their power, to be seen, to be heard. This all feels like it's very interconnected.
It is connected.
Women have been very comfortable in, creating their nests, creating this space, supporting their men to, all this sort of stuff. And all of that felt like a boom, that's collapsing. There's a new dream now. And it's really about, her, what she's going to do, which is just a first step that he will, I imagine, within 3 to 6 months start following as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how that all works, but I can say,
I don't either. That's just, I'm just sharing what I'm feeling at the moment.
No, I get you. And the way I see it, if I look at Miguel, because I've known Miguel a long time, and he's known me. If you go back and watch me and Miguel 2 years ago, we're totally two different people, as we all would be. But for every female incarnation, I agree with you. First of all, I totally agree with you because people hear me say it all the time. I mean, she's leading. And actually, I've brought that up a lot recently, and everybody seems to agree with that, including Miguel, right? But one of the things that I've noticed, and of course I've noticed it myself, but I also noticed it with some people, and I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to point anybody out, and that is the feminine quality, the feminine attributes coming to the surface in what is a male incarnation. It's not going to look the same. For example, I've had conversations, and I can say this about myself, but I can also say it about people that I've collaborated with over the years that are men, and they're listening. See, they're listening. Their feminine is coming out. And like I told you, when you left, a couple of things came up, and I'm like, I'm cool because my feminine is like, it's like the crying, right? Like, that's my feminine. My feminine is going to cry. If she needs to fucking cry, she's going to cry. And there's no problem with that. But I've also noticed it in the aftermath. Like, once everything settled in and the human really took it in, like when I came home from the airport, it was quite stunning to walk in the door, smell you, and I'm very good with everything. And I walk in and then I realize, oh, that's still there. And that's okay. This is the feminine going, hey, yes, that's your heart. You can feel that. It's okay. And there was one time I had to go lay down. It was actually yesterday. It was 45 minutes before I was going to go on with Franco, which was like at 4:00 my time. And I had to go lay down because I thought I was going to vomit. And I thought, oh my God. And all I could do was feel the pain. Well, it's not the pain, the ache, right? And then it turned into the same type of energy that we had and we've always had, but like that really culminated on the night before you left. Now, how does that happen? How do you go from feeling achy for your beloved, walking into a space that you've been sharing and she's not there, nor will she be there, and then you end up making etheric love within your body and in the ethers with her? Yeah, so I was good in 20 minutes. Oh, Jess Lewis said she's in Sydney and she will help you if you need any help.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We would never have made it without this community. From the day one. When you came in 2017, I had $400 in my pocket. And it was gone by the time we landed. It was actually gone after I ran a couple of errands that night. If you remember, in New Jersey, $300 of it was gone. So we never had anything. The first 2017, we didn't have anything. 2018 was when you came in and really took over Soul Speaks 5D. We were at like 350 episodes. And there was some flow. We got married. And then, boom, you were gone. And then it dropped again. Right? So this community has been the third energy at times in this relationship. It supported this relationship. So when I say thank you for the love, support, and contributions, I mean that from an energetic level, in a multidimensional level, and in deep gratitude. Because everybody it looks like it's me and you, but this is huge. And I get messages from people every day telling me this. That's why I think it's important to just be upfront about it. Not that it was my idea. Go figure. She doesn't like to be on camera, but anytime we get on camera, it's like Katie barred the door, like we say in Texas. Like, you ain't going to stop her. Just let her say what she wants to say. Mr. Pinkleton. I'm surprised I hadn't heard that one.
Why are you talking about your penis now?
Mr. Pinkleton. Oh, my God. I came across you guys right after you got married in 2018. Soulogy has helped me expand and stay on the path. Endless gratitude. Yeah, it is. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Although I told you yesterday, I have to stop in front of the mirror. We have a couple of really badass mirrors here that we bought. And I have to stop and I have to look at myself right between the eyes, look at myself, and I thank the human aspect for aligning with all the other guidance and saying I'm in, and not being in prolonged sadness or grief. And I feel like more part of the team. I feel like you were saying earlier, like, what'd you say? Like the human is managing all this stuff, right? And I just feel like I have a deep gratitude for the human being, for all of us, because it's a motherfucker. But
the human being's actually the avatar, like the manager, the avatar. Mm-hmm. That's managing all of our aspects. All of it is perfection. I was standing in another line in the airport yesterday going, oh my God, look at this. All of this is me. All of this busyness, the fear, the joy, the adventure, like all of it is me. All of it. You know, where I was blocked, where I nearly wasn't even allowed on the plane because I didn't have PCR written on my COVID document. Like all of it is perfection. Every single tiny little moment is perfection. And I'm not particularly enjoying my perfection at the moment, but I'm looking for the perfection in it. And it's working. It's great.
Well, it was perfection. You know, it was perfection the night before you left. That was perfection. I don't know what the hell that was. That was pretty awesome, though. It's amazing. Probably should talk about this privately. Well, do you remember you said something to me that night, and that was it? Do you remember that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The night before you left, right before everything started. We were laying in bed.
I actually remember feeling sick, asking you to get me a bucket and asking you to get away from me and leave me alone.
That was after. Okay, I'm going to do a Morgan now. Let me just say that. Let me just read this because. So Heather Nielsen said, "I'm so grateful for Soulogy. Y'all, you have all kept me sane, especially the last 13 months. Thank you, Todd and Morgan, everyone. Thank you." And that's what we get a lot of. We get, I'm not alone anymore. I thought I was crazy. I found my tribe, and you're keeping me sane. Go figure. People talking about their experiences, keeping people sane. And it's not about, oh, what do they know? It's just about, wow, I'm not like lesser or greater than. I'm actually one of these normal people here who's going through an ascension. I pulled a card. I love these cards, these Gayatri cards. Gayatri, you out
my
there?
My card's better. If you're pulling a card, I'm pulling a card as well.
You know what the one? You want to know what it is? Now, don't pull those damn cards. You're going to end up getting what you got before you left. Okay. This one says illumination. That's the one I picked. Illumination. Badass.
All right. I won't pick a card for me. I'll pick a card for you.
Don't pick a card for me.
I'm picking 2 cards now.
Oh, shit. Well, explain to him what these cards are because they're not normal
cards.
Let's
just do it. It's magical. I love these cards. Oh, my God. I love these cards.
Oh, my God. These are, yes.
Oh, my God. I love these cards.
They can be very confronting cards.
All right. I'm not going to cheat. I'm picking a card for Todd and I'm picking this card. So I'm going to pick the card and you have to talk, Todd.
Christy Sparksman is chanting Pinkelton, Pinkelton. Did you hear what I said? That was your card. That was your card before you left. Resent. No. Yeah, that was your card before you left.
This is for you. It's not about me. It's about you. There's your word. What do you think of that word?
Resent. For me?
Yes.
I think it's a one of a handful of words that are very important. Not like a ego red flag. I never have been one to really carry grudges or hate. So when I resent something, it's pretty easy to feel. But
yeah, we're not looking for the dictionary meaning. We're looking for what does this mean for Todd Medina?
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
You who couldn't do these cards the week you left, okay, because you were going into the 5D. But no, that's what it means to me. What it means to I'm not. If I have resentment in my field, I go to work on it because I don't really care for it. I never have. But,
do you have anything active around this at the moment?
No.
Nothing. So it doesn't mean anything to you at all.
I just told you what it meant.
Okay. Picture card.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not cheating. I'm picking a card.
Oh God. I know you're setting me up here. So it's an axe chopping off a hand, their own hand. That I see that as self-sabotage. What does it mean to me? What does it mean to me? Well, just interpreting the picture itself, it just looks like self-sabotage to me. As far as what it means to me, I think probably what it means is, for me, is just to be, self-sabotage has been a pretty big topic, one of several topics in the journey for me that has brought me a lot of epiphanies. I didn't realize I was self-sabotaging myself through the years in many ways. So it's something to be wary of. And, so what is resent and the card mean together? That's how you do it. You do the card, then you do the other card, then you do what they mean together. Okay. So resent with the card with the chopped hand. What does that mean to me? Well, obviously.
Yeah. Jenny Smith has just written, unresolved abandonment is a primary source of self-sabotage.
Unresolved abandonment. Where did you see that? I don't see that.
Jenny Smith just wrote it down.
Denial comes to play in cutting off your own hand. Resenting that you harm yourself via self-sabotage. Yeah, that could be it. As far as how it applies to me, because it's how the game goes. Yeah, to me, it's kind of like, not in the wrong way, but like hindsight. Like, just you know how the program works, and just be aware of it. Can you share the card decks, please, Morgan Lee? These are called O cards, OH.
That's the one you picked the night before we left.
I'm going to have a cigarette if this shit keeps up. Yeah. No, you have to pick a new card because she set me up on that one. She was actually going to post the card on Facebook. Say, look, you picked this.
You picked the penis.
I could do those two cards.
You could do what, two cards? So that's the packet. I think they were developed in the 1970s in Germany. They are the most magical, incredible cards. I mean, you can, if I'm ever uncomfortable and I just can't tune into what it is, I'll just pick a word card, a picture card, a word card, a picture card until I get the whole story. And, ideally, we spoke during this, but you're meant to sit there in absolute silence with nobody else's input and you'll get the answers that you want. I'm so not good at this whole, I would never make back in the olden days when they had the reality, the game shows, and they would have the ladies that did, oh, where did you go, Todd? Ta-da, there's the prize. Here's the card box. I've lost.
I got you back.
Mr. Medina.
Yeah, I got you back.
So, O cards. I love them.
That's Mr. Pinkleton to you, good sir.
Mr. Pinkleton.
Oh, that's funny.
So how is Mr. Pinkleton? Is he happy?
Yeah, that's good. Mr. Pinkleton.
Imagine a grown man calling his penis Mr. Pinkleton. You picked that card the other night too.
You picked that.
Yes, you do. You come out and say, I'm coming to bed. Mr. Pinkleton and I are ready.
I don't say that. I do not say that.
So that must be it then.
Please forgive me, Master. Well, we might as well go 12 more minutes and we'll make it 2 hours.
Let's pull a card for Ryan. Since he's on, I'm going to pull a card for Ryan. I'll shuffle them.
I just want to say big props to Ryan, man, with the jiu-jitsu.
Oh, except Ryan can't talk about it.
He looks fabulous.
Doesn't he? He looks absolutely amazing. So, okay, a card for Ryan. We're not going to be able to talk about it. We'll just let him work it out for himself.
He's my brother. So
we picked out a word card for Ryan.
Home.
So Ryan can think about that and see what comes. I'm so not good at this. There we go. It's on.
He says,
and we'll pick out.
Talk about it?
Well, You have to send him a link so he can come on.
Now we're winding it down.
Yeah, okay. And I'll pick a picture card for Ryan. That one.
We got UK's in here. What? Let me see. Oh, going down the slide, somebody's swinging on the. That's interesting.
All right. So they're Ryan's. Oh, where's my? Oh, here it is. So together, Ryan. That should bring me some insight to something.
Yeah, that's cool. Fight Club. He's writing it down. Yeah, we do it, but
I'll take a picture of it and send it to him.
Yeah, but I can't. This is already going to be 12. I gotta have my shit together for tomorrow. We got a lot of stuff to do. Gotta get the word, more word out on the Soulogy Fest. We got some announcements coming too this week.
I thought you were doing a live for Soulogy Fest today.
But
you didn't.
Yeah. So, but this is another. So this all happened at the same time too. All this stuff was happening, and I think that's another thing that I got out of it was being able. Look, what are we talking about? We're talking about learning to say no. We're talking about learning to honor yourself, self-care, and that drives everything, right? That drives everything. That keeps you in balance, and then whatever you come across comes into balance or falls away. So for me, having all these people come at me, even today, about Soulogy Fest, these are friends of mine, many of them, and I can't answer them, and it's okay. I'm not saying no. I'm just going to get to it when I can. And I think that's another thing I've seen too with what's happening, not just in the last month, but actually over the last 2-3 months, where people are starting to allow other people the benefit of the doubt. I'll get back to you when I get back to you. If I don't get back to you or you don't get back to me, there's got to be a reason for it. I'm not going to let my imagination run wild. Somebody said it earlier too, when you were talking about the feminine, and what they basically said, I wish I could find it. They said that the patriarchal imprint was, they were describing the period you were talking about as it was being released. Maybe that's another way to put it. Who's this guy? Sliding in the home. Okay. So you look good as always. Human is the hero. But this isn't about sacrifice, suffering, or pain either. And I think that's the part that the human's going to really come into. And then Pamela said something about what's coming is way beyond our comprehension. It's way beyond our wildest dreams. I believe that for this whole thing. I love you both so much. I love you too, Ryan. Ryan is the first person I ever talked to Soulogy. I've talked about Soulogy too, in the flesh. 14? Yeah. Actually, Ryan was the first person you met besides me when you came in 2017. Massive Schumann spike right now. There was one yesterday too. Shanine got her name back. She's back to being Shanine Mouland.
Oh, that's good. You can never find her. I mean, she's changed her name so many times in the last 6 months. It's like you just lose trace of her altogether.
Yeah.
Mouland. Very cool. And you know what's really cool is that it only took you like 18 months to learn how to say it.
Say
Good
what?
job. Shanine's name.
Shanine, yeah. Giovanni says, thanks for the fun and laughs, and thank you so much for not bringing Mr. Pinkleton on.
Shanine might know this. There was a show on Australian TV, I don't know, I think it's called Celebrity Get Me Out of Here, and they had Lady Di's butler, Paul Burrell, I think his name was.
Oh, yeah.
And he was on this show, and he, in front of everyone, like in the camp area, because they all sent out into the wild and they lose everything, and they just like, and he just kept calling his penis, his Lingham, whatever I know you hate that word, but he kept saying, "Oh, Mr. Pinkleton and I just every time he said, I just absolutely lost it. So when I met you, absolutely. So I used to say to you, "Oh, Todd, wait, one day I'm going to meet Mr. Pinkleton," and you would just lose it. So that's where that comes from. Todd doesn't really call his
no, I don't
bits and pieces Mr. Pinkleton.
And I don't have a problem with the lingam or it's just the penis. That word is kind of weird.
Why?
I'm used to it now because you've said it so much. I'm used to it.
I wonder if it's got anything to do with the cards that you pulled, resent and the picture of the sabotage, which I've now lost. Considering you pulled out the picture of the penis like the night before I left, that was your word. Do you remember that was your picture? What was the word that you had with the penis?
Mr. Well, it was two cards. It was what was the word? I can't remember. I can't remember what the word was. All right. 1 hour, 55 minutes, 44 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So we know you have a busy day and you got to get out. I would go crazy. I would not be able to do that. If I was on the first or second floor, I would be out of there.
Well, that's why I booked the sessions. I thought if I can just keep busy doing sessions all day, every day, this 14 days should go very fast.
Let's talk about that for a second.
No, I just did. Well, I'm done.
You're so unassuming. So you do a lot of people think you just do 0 point, but you don't do 0 point. You do sacred sexuality, a multidimensional connection, Harris Scamas. What am I leaving out?
That's about it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people in the community that have, you've never been one to go out and market yourself, which is,
no, but I did this week because I knew it could potentially be like incredibly boring, stuck in a room by yourself for 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm going to put a special out there and try to like connect with as many people as possible during that time.
Yeah. And that's but it's a good thing. I mean, it's talk to anyone that's done a session with her. You can't talk to me because no one would think I'm objective, but I can tell you it changed my life. And I still use more than that from what she told me. In fact, in that 2.5 weeks out in the forest out back, they're very, very, I'm a big believer in being active, because that takes my mind off of things. So just stay active because I figure, if I'm active, I'm still going to go through it. But so it's an active kind of thing. It's almost, it's like you're crocheting. It's kind of like that. That's how I see it. Like you're basically threading or identify clear. But she's phenomenal. She'll never tell you, but she's phenomenal. And she's been assisting me since the night I met her. Jade Ashstar said, where do we find Morgan's info? It is, I'm going to type it in on all the platforms and zeropointing.com. Boom. There's what is it? $77 American is your quarantine special. And again, she doesn't normally do this. If I wasn't saying it, we wouldn't be talking about it. But I also learned too, the last time we got in trouble, I was told to let everybody know, and the response was incredible. And at that time I was told, you ask your higher aspects, your team, you're meant to ask for assistance from a place of equality and also to start applying it to the community. So that's another part of the Soulogy energy that we're going to do our best to promote is to not from codependence, not from victimhood, but to share resources. And that means a lot of things. Resources means a lot of things. It's not just money or stuff. All right. What else you got, Cinderella?
That's all, Mr. Pinkleton.
April Lloyd calls Mr. Pinkleton Big Jim, by the way. April says, I love all that you do, Morgan Lee and Todd. I mean, if I'd have known she ever said that, I wouldn't have read her comment. I love what you do, Morgan Lee. And I love what you do to Todd Medina. I mean, Mr. Pinkleton. Now I gotta cutely name Morgan's vagina till you're back together again.
Oh.
Yeah. Mr. Pinkleton, Christy Sparksman.
I'm actually Big Jim and he's Mr. Pinkleton. There you go. Two new names. Big Jim.
Big Jim.
Well, it's like a playground, like a big gym. The playground.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for always supporting us and being a part of this. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're dedicated to it. Dedicated to ourselves and to each other.
I think I can hear Vanya laughing. From Sydney to Tasmania. Big Jim, the big playground, and Mr. Pinkleton. Because I feel like I can hear Vanya losing it, cracking up.
Probably. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Okay. So we'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
Before I go to bed, I'll call you within an hour. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll see you later. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Yeah, she did. Giovanni said, I fell off the couch.
That's Giovanni and my type of that's why I just felt like, she would really appreciate that Big Jim and Mr. Pinkleton.
Jimbo. All right.